Welcome back to the program. So President Trump today signed an executive order basically putting a limit on mail-in ballots. Now, I can tell you right off the bat, right away, Mark Elias, that fat cheeseburger-eating scumbag who was part of Hillary Clinton's whole, Fusion GPS and the law firm and everything else, stealing elections for years and years and years, has already said that he's got a lawsuit that he's going to file as soon as this week or next week, tops. I've also heard that all the Democrat attorney generals in all the Democrat states are all going to be filing a huge lawsuit to try to stop it. Why? Well, it's very simple. Because they want to continue to steal our elections, okay? I'm not going to give you a lecture on that. You already know that. So here it is. President Trump signs an executive order today on mail-in voting will require DHS to verify U.S. citizens who are eligible to vote. Trump is expected to sign. He did it already. States who disobey the order may lose federal funds under the presidential action. The mail-in ballots will have secure envelopes with barcodes. President Trump is executive order will require the Secretary of Homeland Security to create a list of verified U.S. citizens who are eligible to vote in each state with the Social Security Administration's help, according to a fact sheet shared with the news. The presidential action will also require that the U.S. Postal Service only send absentee ballots to those on each state's approved mail-in ballot list. Ballots will now have specific, secure envelopes with unique barcodes for tracking the orders and mandates. States will be provided with their revised list of confirmed voters no less than 60 days before each federal election under the order. The executive order also says that the U.S. Attorney General is to prioritize investigating and prosecuting anyone accused of sending ballots to ineligible voters. States that disobey the order may lose federal funds under this action. The Save America Act is currently stalled in the Senate. President Trump last week called on Republican senators to end the filibuster, of course, amid ongoing gridlock. Senate Majority Leader John Thune and others have floated passing the SAVE Act through the reconciliation, which only requires 51 votes. But of course, the Senate parliamentarian will not let that fly, so it's another head fake bullshit. This requires approval from the Senate parliamentarian. Exactly. The only option is to nuke the filibuster and pass bills with 51 votes in the Senate. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick joined President Trump in the Oval Office in the signing. Section 1, Purpose and Policy. The right to vote in federal election is reserved exclusively for citizens of the United States under the Constitution and federal law. Federal law states explicitly it prohibits non-citizens from registering to vote or voting in federal elections and imposes criminal penalties for violations. USC 18-241, USC 18, a bunch of other. Social Security Administration maintains records that in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security's DHS Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlements program can assist in verifying and identifying federal election voter eligibility. The federal government has an unavoidable duty under Article 2 of the Constitution of the United States to enforce federal law, which includes preventing violations of federal criminal law and maintaining public confidence in elections and outcomes. To enhance election integrity via the United States mail, additional measures are necessary. Secure ballot envelope identifiers provide a reliable, auditable mechanism to enforce federal law without unduly burdening or infringing on the rights of eligible voters. Unique ballot envelope identifiers such as barcodes enable confirmation that only citizens receive and cast ballots, reducing the risk of fraud and protecting the integrity of our federal elections. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that the left is up in arms right now because they know if they can't get mail-in ballots, they can't win another election, because that's how they win. They cheat. They find out what they need. You saw it. It's all over in California in Skid Row right now. And by the way, why hasn't anyone been arrested yet? Where the hell is everybody on that? They're literally committing crimes on the street corner, live on camera, giving drugs, giving alcohol, food, cigarettes, whatever, for people's names on ballots. And they have broken in and breached databases to get actual real voters and their information. And they're using that information to write out these ballots, and they're paying people to do it. They're doing it on the fucking street, for goodness sake. Why isn't anyone busting that? It's going on. I like Steve Hilton. I like the other guy, Chad Bianco, whatever his name is. I like the two Republicans. Do you really think a Republican is going to win the governorship with these people on Skid Row day in, day out, fucking noon to 3 a.m. or whatever they're doing, just constantly taking names and just filling out fake shit right on the street and being paid with money and drugs? Do you think that either one of those are going to win the election? Of course not. It's not even going to be close. Not even going to be close. I don't care what the polls say. We got to get a hold on election integrity. And they are so fearful, because they know if they don't have no fault, no explanation mail-in ballots. In other words, anyone can get a mail-in ballot. Fucking Mickey Mouse, doesn't matter. Goofy, Donald Duck, whatever, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, doesn't matter. Bugs Bunny, they can all vote. Because it's no fault. They just send them out. They mail them out. Mass produce them out. Sometimes they even go and print them. Remember the movie? I interviewed Dinesh D'Souza when he had the movie come out about President Trump right before he won the election. They literally go to the print shops and they print out ballots. So at least now with this executive order, it's got barcodes on it. It's got, the thing that you tilt it in the light and you can see the whatever you call that, the hieroglyph or whatever it is, the thing that shines in the light so they can tell it's real. Plus, no ballots will be accepted unless they are in a sealed envelope, which, by the way, doesn't show the party identification on them anymore. I mean, it's so the only people that would file a lawsuit against this, and they're it's a voter discrimination. It's going to keep millions of people from being in votes. No, it's going to keep millions of people from stealing elections. That's what this is all about. You don't want this? You want to fight this in court? Pass the SAVE Act. Pass the SAVE Act. Guess what? None of these lawyers, Mark Elias, none of these assholes will be able to do anything because it'll be signed into law. Congress would have approved it. It was a law. That's why the Save America Act is so goddamn fucking important. I never, ever take the good Lord's name in vain. I apologize for that. But I'm so angry and I'm so frustrated. I'm so frustrated. But President Trump's trying. He's trying. He doesn't get any help from these dickheads in the Senate, though, is he? No, he's not. We've got to pass the SAVE Act. I'm sorry. This is the hill we are going to die on. I don't care. We are going to get this done. Somehow, some way, we are going to get this done. Because this is going to be challenged. This is going to be held up in lawsuits. This is not going to be able to be even implemented for the midterms. Because no judge that's going to put an injunction on it is going to allow it to continue while they're litigating it. So there's only going to be an ex parte, immediate move up to the Supreme Court to get a decision on it. That's it. But you know what? We don't have to do that. President Trump is doing this because of the inaction of these dickless idiots in the Senate, led by the clown Thune. That's why. President Trump is doing it all, and the idiots in the Senate are doing nothing. So frustrating. I knew there'd be some rhinos this term, obviously, but I didn't think it was going to be like this. Honestly, I just didn't. I figured the trifecta, the White House, the Senate, the House, even the small majority in the House has still been great. If you think about it, they're the ones that are passing everything. But it's stalling in the asshole Senate. So, again, as I've said, I have figured there's 5 senators that we need to go after, and I mean go after. And they are Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, John Curtis, Mitch McConnell's office. I say office because we don't know who the hell's running that, right? And I guess Thomas Masshole, but not really because he doesn't care anymore. He's retiring, right? So basically those 4 or 5. And of course Thune. So yeah, those. And what needs to happen is we need to continue to hammer them. They have the, quote, votes to pass, but they don't have the willpower to use the talking or sitting filibuster, whatever they want to call it, to actually use it. So if they won't do that, then we have to replace Thune. And then there's 5 people that I think would actually, because you only need 5 Republicans to call for and force a vote on new leadership. And it's been done before. I mean, Kevin McCarthy just got ousted by Matt Gaetz less than a year ago, or whatever it was, 2 years ago. Okay? So it can be done. Clearly, it can be done. And those 5 would be Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn, Ron Johnson, and then Rick Scott, who likely would end up being the next Senate Majority Leader. I'd love to see Mike Lee, the 5th one, but I don't know. Maybe it's a seniority thing. Remember when he was running against Thune, it was Thune, Cornyn, and Scott. And Scott didn't get enough votes, so it was between Cornyn and Thune got it. Okay? So once they call for a vote, you need 27, and again, it's secret ballot, but you need 27 votes for one of those 5. And like I said, likely it would probably be Rick Scott, which is fine because Rick Scott is solidly for the SAVE Act. We need new leadership in the Senate, or we need to get these assholes motivated to do the talking filibuster and get this thing done. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.